The earth is currently suffocating under the weight of Ravana's atrocities. He is a demonic king whose sheer power has rendered sages and even the gods themselves entirely helpless to intervene. But Ravana made a specific calculation born of pure arrogance. When he demanded a boon of absolute invincibility, he requested immunity from gods, demons, and celestial beings, entirely dismissing humans as a viable threat to his reign. Lord Vishnu recognized the specific blind spot. To bypass Ravana's supernatural armor, Vishnu chose to project his divine essence into the form of an ordinary mortal man. The universe could not be saved through divine decree alone. It required a savior bound by the physical vulnerabilities and emotional weight of the human condition. In the city of Ayodhya, King Dashrath is consumed by a desperate, personal longing. To secure an heir for the Suryavansh dynasty, he performs the Putra Kameshti Yagna, a massive ritual intended to bridge the gap between the royal and the divine. His prayers result in the birth of 4 sons, including the eldest, Ram. These boys grow up in a world of silk and stone, insulated from harsh realities by intense maternal affection and royal privilege. However, this sheltered existence has a strict deadline. Tradition eventually demands their Gurukul initiation, an uncompromising education that signals the immediate end of their pampered youth. A divine instrument of justice cannot be forged in the soft comforts of a palace. True duty requires the deliberate severing of these personal attachments. Life at Sage Vashista's ashram begins with an immediate environmental shock. The princes trade their palace beds for the bare earth, forced to walk barefoot through every season. The Gurukul utilizes a strict economic leveling mechanism. Every student must beg for alms to survive. This ensures no child relies on their family's wealth or status for special treatment. During these years, Ram develops a parental sense of responsibility. He comforts his homesick brothers in the middle of the night, while upholding the guru's demanding discipline during the day. Before one can protect the world, they must be systematically stripped of the ego and entitlement that rule it. This diagram illustrates the human body's spiritual architecture, the 7 chakras. Training centers on mastering Kundalini, latent energy sequentially guided upward through these nodes. Pushing this energy to the final crown node produces absolute clarity, effectively stripping the mind of fear. Physical combat training is secondary here. In this system, ultimate invincibility is a direct result of mastering one's internal spiritual energy. Sage Vashista's final lesson centers on Nishkam karma, the ability to take decisive action without any emotional attachment to the results. Applying this philosophy allows the student to repay their debts to the gods, to the ancestors, and to the teachers, achieved through pure, selfless service to humanity. This rigorous education provides the essential psychological framework to operate freely and fearlessly in an otherwise chaotic world. When the princes return to Arundhya, the mothers are shocked to see their sons have become hardened, stoic youths. Dashrath, however, remains focused on the joy of having his family reunited. This peace is shattered by sage Vishwamitra's sudden arrival and his terrifying demand. Ram must leave immediately to protect sacred rituals from powerful demons in the forest. Dashrath resists with agonizing desperation, offering his entire royal army just to spare his beloved son from the horrors of the wilderness. Sage Vashista intervenes, forcing Dashrath to realize that his son now belongs to a universal destiny that supersedes the desires of the royal family. The heaviest burden of dharma is the reality that securing the greater good demands the absolute sacrifice of our deepest personal loves. In the deep forest, the demoness Tataka launches an aggressive assault. As the sun sets, demonic power violently overtakes the landscape. Ram applies the exact philosophy of Nishkam karma, refusing to yield to fear or anger even in the face of this monster. He acts as an emotionless instrument of his guru's command, striking down Tataka to restore cosmic balance. Ram has passed his first true crucible, standing now as the active, unwavering embodiment of truth triumphing over darkness. Aryavarta was a land under siege from demonic forces. Ancient ashrams faced constant attack, and a fracturing society looked for a protector. Lord Ram arrives as an obedient student. Under the guidance of sage Vishwamitra, he has just vanquished the demoness Taraka, securing a victory for the terrorized sages and proving his capability in combat. Recognizing this potential, Vishwamitra unlocks an arsenal of ultimate, cosmos-shattering divine weapons for the young prince. The sage binds these weapons with a strict vow. They are to be drawn exclusively to shield the vulnerable and uphold the law of dharma. Using such power to display personal dominance is strictly forbidden. Ram's legacy begins with his psychological mastery over these destructive forces. His journey is marked by the deliberate choice to hold this power in check. With the ashram secured, Vishwamitra leads Ram and his brother Lakshman through the ancient, sacred landscapes toward the kingdom of Janakpur. Along the way, they enter a desolate, withered ashram. Here lies Ahilya, a woman cursed by deceit to exist as an unfeeling stone slab, waiting decades for a redeemer. Ram approaches without hesitation. A simple touch of his foot shatters the curse, restoring Ahilya to her human form. He demonstrates that divine power can restore life as easily as it can end it. Their path culminates in the vibrant, culturally rich capital of King Janaka. In the royal flower garden, a quiet, fated moment unfolds. Ram and Princess Sita cross paths. It is an instant recognition of a connection that feels older than the moment itself. Yet neither utters a word. They remain bound to the expectations of their roles, their actions governed by duty and the weight of their parents' vows. This shared discipline, choosing the sanctity of their roles over the impulse of the moment, aligns their spirits with the gravity of the trials ahead. The arena in Janakpur is set for Sita Swayamvar. The singular requirement for her hand in marriage is the stringing of the impossibly heavy Shiva Tanush, the bow of the destroyer. One by one, a parade of monarchs and decorated warriors marches to center stage. They project confidence, loudly declaring their royal lineage and physical might. The boasts shatter upon contact with the weapon. Even the most physically imposing men cannot budge the divine bow a single millimeter from its resting place. Watching this parade of inadequacy, King Janaka sinks into despair. He stands before the assembly and publicly laments that the earth has been emptied of true heroes. Raw force, when fueled by personal arrogance, proves useless against a trial designed to test the character of the wielder. Hearing his lineage insulted, Ram's younger brother Lakshman reacts with defensive pride. He stands ready to challenge the entire assembly on behalf of the House of Raghu. Sage Vishwamitra calmly steps in. With a single nod, he cuts through the rising tension and commands Ram to attempt the challenge. Ram walks towards the center of the arena. There is no bravado in his stride. He bows to the weapon, treating it with reverence instead of viewing it as a prize to be conquered. He grasps the center of the bow. With a fluid motion, he lifts it, pulls the string back, and snaps the heavy wood with a deafening crack that echoes through the city. The tension in the arena evaporates. Sita steps forward with the victory garland around Ram's neck. The weapon operation is interrupted. Lord Parashurama, an imposing sage, descends from his mountain retreat, drawn by the sound of the broken bow. This is a warrior whose reputation paralyzes armies. Armed with his legendary axe, he has spent lifetimes hunting down and eradicating corrupt monarchs. Lakshman immediately steps up, meeting the sage's blinding rage with sharp sarcasm. The two protective forces lock into a legendary verbal duel. Without a mediator, the room reaches the brink of a bloodbath as pride and wrath spiral out of control. Ram places himself between his loyal brother and the furious sage. Instantly, the aggressive energy in the room meets a wall of calm. He refuses to match Parashurama's volume. Instead, Ram addresses the warrior with unshakable respect and humility, neutralizing the sage's anger. To settle the dispute, Parashurama offers his own divine weapon, the Vaishnava. Ram takes it and effortlessly draws the string. revealing their shared cosmic source. The elder sage's anger dissolves. Recognizing the divine succession before him, Parashurama offers his blessing and returns to his mountain retreat.
The streets of Ayodhya erupt. A messenger from King Janaka has just delivered the official word to King Dasharatha. Prince Rama has successfully broken the legendary bow of Shiva. Inside the palace, Queen Kaikeyi is overwhelmed with maternal joy at the news of his triumph. In the corners of the room, her maid Manthara attempts to plant early whispers of suspicion, warnings the queen dismisses entirely in the heat of the moment. Dasharatha spares no expense. He immediately opens the royal treasuries and mobilizes the military to form a magnificent Bharat, a royal wedding procession of a scale rarely seen in the ancient world. This celebration signals a strategic shift for the region. The marriage effectively binds the two most influential houses in Aryavarta, creating a combined front that connects the capital of Ayodhya with the spiritual and cultural heart of Mithila. When the Ayodhya procession finally arrives, Dasharatha avoids the posture of an imposing conqueror. He approaches King Janaka with profound humility, describing himself as a beggar who has come to ask for the ultimate gift of a daughter. Moved by this respect, the kings expand the alliance. The proposal grows from one marriage to four. Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, and Shatrughna will marry Sita, her sister, and her two royal cousins. In a single afternoon, 4 separate ceremonies take place. The bloodlines are locked into place, merging the futures of these two dynasties. Dasharatha and Janaka solidify their kingdoms through a shared public display of humility, choosing to define their power through familial bonds rather than military pressure. The music stops, the wedding fires die down, and a heavy silence settles over the palace of Mithila as the departure sets in. Queen Sunaina is left psychologically devastated. She describes the approaching farewell as a physical wound, an arrow bearing deep into her heart, and a thief arriving to steal away her life's greatest treasures. Sensing this grief, King Dasharatha offers an extraordinary gesture of empathy. He issues a command that the Ayodhya procession will not move until Janaka himself explicitly grants them the permission to take the brides away. Transferring the care of a daughter creates a massive emotional debt. Dasharatha respects the weight of that sacrifice, refusing to exploit his status as the father of the grooms to rush the grieving parents. King Janaka is revered across the world as a master yogi, a man who has spent a lifetime cultivating absolute spiritual detachment from worldly illusions. That legendary detachment shatters under the weight of his paternal love. Paralyzed by the thought of an empty house, the great ascetic repeatedly delays the departure because he cannot bring himself to say the words that will let them go. Sage Vishwamitra eventually intervenes. He gently reminds the paralyzed king of the requirements of dharma, the unavoidable social and moral law that dictates daughters must eventually leave their childhood homes. Accepting the inevitable, Queen Sunaina pulls the princesses aside. Through her tears, she instructs them to fully transfer their devotion, their care, and their daily loyalties to their new families and responsibilities. The agony of parental separation acts as a universal force, capable of breaking through the emotional defenses of even the most disciplined spiritual masters. The Vidai, the final farewell ceremony, begins. The red palanquins are brought into the courtyard to carry the 4 brides toward their new lives. The mothers wail openly as the young women step out of the only home they have ever known, transitioning from the security of Mithila to the uncertainty of a distant kingdom. In this moment, the great yogi is silent. King Janaka stands completely broken, weeping heavy tears as he watches the palanquins disappear from view. Janaka demonstrates that the highest form of spiritual sacrifice requires surrendering one's deepest worldly love to the requirements of duty. The long journey ends as the procession reaches Ayodhya. The sorrow of the departure is met with the overwhelming warmth and celebratory security of a new kingdom. Dasharatha instructs his senior queen, Kausalya, to treat these 4 women as her own flesh and blood, providing the maternal love needed to heal the grief of their separation. In the quiet of their new quarters, Rama offers Sita a defining promise. He takes the vow of Eka Patni Vrata, a pledge of absolute monogamy,
ensuring she will never have to share her place with another wife.